If you've been feeling disconnected from your body, if you've been trying to force clarity, healing, or momentum, if part of you knows there has to be a more natural, feminine way to move through life, then listen in closely. Because the truth is, so many women have been taught to live in constant output, constant pressure, and constant performance. And over time, that really disconnects us from our own rhythm, our own intuition, and the deeper wisdom our bodies have been holding all along. That's why this conversation today really truly matters because when you begin to understand your cycles, when you begin to understand energetics and the way your body is designed to move through seasons of reflection, of release, creation, expansion, you stop seeing yourself as inconsistent or behind. You begin to realize that you may not be broken at all. You might simply just be out of rhythm. So today we're going to talk about the Lunar New Year that just happened, this lovely pink full moon at the time of this recording, the feminine energetics, and what it can look like to reconnect with lunar cycles in a way that feels grounded, healing, and deeply supportive. So, to help us explore this, I'm joined by Christine Marcario, a Reiki Master, spiritual intuitive, life coach, and host of the Aligned and Abundant podcast. Christine guides women to heal, align with their truth, and live more abundant, authentic lives. So, Christine, I am so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much for inviting me onto your podcast. And I'm so excited to have this conversation with you today. I know it's going to be so insightful.
It is. I'm excited. Okay, so I would love to start here. For those of you who are meeting you for the first time, can you share a little about who you are and the heart behind the work that you do?
Yes. So I always wanted to help people at my core. So naturally, I went into teaching and I was a middle school English teacher for 19 years. And I always dabbled on the side of spirituality. I didn't feel like I fit into any particular box in regards to a religion. So
Mhm.
I just always leaned toward the spiritual side of life. And with that comes learning about energy, the cycles of the moon, astrology. I am into tarot and mediumship and all things that have to do with how to live our most aligned and abundant life in order to carry out our soul's mission. And of course, with that comes all of our soul's lessons. And so exploring that side of life in order to give us the best way to deal with life's ups and downs
I like that.
is what I would say in a nutshell.
I love that. So, where can listeners find you and connect with you?
The best place to connect with me is on Instagram at christine.marcario.coach and by also subscribing to my newsletter, which we can drop the link in the show notes, as well as listening to my podcast, Aligned and Abundant.
Awesome. So, I have to ask what led you into Reiki and the whole spiritual coaching and that deeper path?
Yeah, so I grew up around spirituality. My cousin is a third generation natural psychic and
Oh, nice.
medium. So, yeah, so I grew up with her. She's 7 years older than me, and we would always do things together because she would babysit me and we would go on adventures. We became friends. And so I was used to her saying, there's a spirit here, or doing a reading or pulling cards, but really, she's so gifted that she can just connect. So, like, she doesn't even need cards. So, I was just
Yeah.
always around that. And then I feel like my mom also has been interested. My grandma passed away about a month and a half before I was born. And I feel like she is always around. And it's
Yeah.
funny because whenever I go for a psychic reading myself, the first thing that usually comes out of the reader's mouth is, you have an older woman with you. And she's just always around. So I'm just really interested in connecting to the beings that are here to help us, whether they are the archangels, our spirit team, our spirit guides, and utilizing their divine wisdom to help us navigate this life, because at the end of the day, this life is not particularly that easy most days.
Yeah.
And so it's important for us to come here. Life is school. So we're here to learn our lessons, we're here to grow our soul. And so I just think it's so valuable in learning those different types of things. So in 2016, I want to say I was feeling the pull to become Reiki attuned. And so I went and I got Reiki attuned with level one, and I had a really profound experience. It was, I envisioned when I was in a meditation, I had closed my eyes and we were guided through a meditation. And I just remember this so powerfully that it was almost like I was transported to Egypt. And I was in the middle of a pyramid and I just felt this powerful energy come through me. And it was such a beautiful experience that it's almost hard to put into words. And so from there, I began to practice Reiki on myself, as that's usually what is required of you for level one. And then level two and three, I ended up probably getting those in like 2017. And then I kind of went for my master's teacher level in 2019. And that was also in conjunction with, I was basically starting a new life. I was
Mhm.
recently divorced and living on my own with my two boys for the first time in a long time, and re-entering the dating world at 33 years old. So there was a lot going on, and Reiki was just another way for me to self-soothe and then also help heal other people and clear their energy. And so it just kind of evolved naturally on its own in regards to, I just kept being led to where I should go. So I have worked with crystals, I have worked with archangels, I have sound healing. So I've kind of dabbled in a little bit of everything. And gosh, I'm trying to think. My daughter, when she was 2-ish, I kind of had like a meltdown, a little bit of a midlife crisis, I would say. And I packed up and went on like the first solo trip that I had ever been on. So I live in New Jersey and I went to a spiritual commune called Lily Dale in New York. And it's
Nice.
basically a summer destination because they get a lot of snow. And it's basically just this little, they call it a hamlet. So it's this little teeny tiny town on a lake, and it is nothing but psychic mediums. Any and everything spiritual is there. And so I drove myself up. It was about 9 hours. And so that gave me a lot of time to reflect and think about life. I stopped along the way at a park with like a huge waterfall, and it was just kind of like a nervous system reset. I went, I took some classes. There's like very sacred energy there. And it really started to remind me that I need to share my gifts with the world because that's what they're here for. And I need to, at this point, stop holding myself back. So, what I did was last year, I decided that I was no longer going back into the traditional classroom and that I was still going to be a teacher, but in a different capacity, in a
Mhm.
way where I can share my gifts. And so I started leaning into coaching and holding spaces where people can come and meditate and connect to themselves and learn about how to utilize the different energies and basically teach people the tools how to heal themselves, because we all have the power to heal ourselves. And sometimes that means peeling back the layers that we're afraid to peel back, but then looking at them with the magnifying glass, giving them love, and then we can start the healing process. So there's a whole method to the madness as far as healing oneself, but there are so many beautiful ways that we can do that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you have so many golden nuggets in everything that you just said. I don't even know like where to start with it. Cause I was thinking like when you said you had that meditation that was that powerful, that was like for me when that happened to me, very kind of similar. I'll have to tell you that story because I can talk about it for hours. But It was it oh my gosh, okay, it happened probably very similarly at the same season of life that it happened for you too, that that early, like, after the children, but, like, you stepping into yourself, I guess, too. It was during that phase, and then the experience itself was through like, I went to a health summit that was locally, and at the end of it, we did this really powerful meditation, and it was really, like, the first time that I actually had somebody in person guiding me on a meditation like that, and just, like, this overwhelming, like, white light, like, she mentioned, Metatron at the time, and I
Mhm.
just, like I really felt it, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, there's something here." You know what I mean? And it like you said, it's, like, hard to explain if you haven't had that experience happen to you. Um, but yeah, I was crying, like, I was bawling, crying at the end of that session. I was, like, looking around. I was like, "Who else is crying? Is anybody else crying?" And I was completely, like, done, like yeah, totally exposed. But it was good, and, like, I've always like you said, like, I've had my mom, my mom's mom, like, that lineage has a very strong, like, um, psychic type connection, and so I picked up tarot myself just on my own. My mom's like, "Oh, why did you pick that up?" I was like, "I don't know, I just felt like I should." She's like, "Well, your grandmother did it." And I was like, "Wait, I'm like 20 something years old at the time." I was like, "You've never told me once that she did this." And she's like, "Oh yeah, she would just pull her tarot cards out and do the same thing." I was like, "Oh, okay. So that's a thing." But yeah, I feel like even like you said, like you started in the classroom, so you were teaching and you knew like teaching was your thing, but we're always given like that path where we think we know like what it is, but then it seems like that middle like 20, late 20s, early 30s, like we tend to actually start tuning in and it leads us on a similar path, but not, how we thought it was going to be. And same thing, like I said, for me, like I was always like restaurant nutrition focused, but then I transitioned, especially after that moment of that meditation happening, I transitioned into coaching and healing, like just like you did. So it's very similar paths. But I think that doing this podcast today around these subjects is very important because I feel like a lot of us, like you said too, you're on this path that you think is the path, but until you actually are connected with the spirits around you, with your energy, with all this alignment and knowledge that's available for all of us, especially as women, we don't really have that clarity until we start tuning in.
Yeah, I mean, they say clarity comes after action. And so many of us get so caught up in our logical brains that we're constantly trying to figure it out before we make the moves. But
Yeah.
in actuality, the biggest and best move you can make is just trusting and having
Yeah.
faith and believing that you're going to be led down the right path. And then when you start walking that path, things become clearer and clearer each step you take. So it's action before clarity. And then
Yeah.
the more action you take, the clearer things get.
Yeah. I love that. I'm gonna sidestep here for a second. Do you have any like past life things that you know of in your life? Because I have one for me.
Yeah. So it's so funny. I was talking about this with someone this week actually, and how I was mentioning to her that I don't like to feel boxed in. And then I shared with her, I learned probably about a year and a half ago that I was actually an indentured servant on a ship. And I was in the bottom of the ship
Yeah.
and I was just constantly doing work down there and I felt trapped. And yeah, obviously it was like dark and wet. And
Yeah.
so there is that one where I feel like I don't want to be contained. I don't want to be told what to do. So there's a little bit of that that bleeds into this life. And
Mhm.
I don't like authority. I don't like being told what to do. I don't like to be
Yeah,
bossed around. I like to be the leader and I like to be in charge, and I'm naturally pretty good at it. So it's working that, I guess, that karma out, you know?
yeah.
And another past lifetime is I have what feels like Irish background, and I just feel like I lived this life because I've done past life regressions is where I've gotten these from.
Okay.
And just living through poverty, like having like famine, like not enough food,
Mhm.
and just really scraping by. So ironically, right, our soul is going through these different lives, these different classrooms, and we carry that with us. And so in each life, we're trying to balance out the situations. And I think that sometimes those limiting beliefs get stuck in our energy, in our DNA. So when we heal, we're healing not only ourselves, but we're healing past generations and future generations, both 7 generations in each direction. And so, as someone who has chosen to incarnate during this pivotal time in human history where there's so much going on, it's really important that light workers like yourself and me are here to raise the frequency and the vibration of the collective. It's light versus dark. And so when we are exposing the darkness can tend to seem like it's winning. But I do believe that the light always wins. And it's just a matter of time. The dark has to be shown light upon it in order to, be called out. So
Yeah.
I'm here on that mission also. And one other thing that I'd love to share that's kind of in relation is I have a very dear friend who is also extremely gifted and she talks to the angels. And she's told me that this is a gift life for me, meaning like I've already had a lot of baggage in my
Yeah.
other life, and this one is
Yeah.
supposed to be a little bit of a break. And so, even though it's funny because I was like, dang, like I've been through some rough patches, I'm like, what's my other life's like? Like, what am I signing up for? But I've always been an A+ student. So I'm like, I was probably going hard in those lives. Like, oh yeah, give me the poverty, give me the abuse. Like I was figuring it out. And then here I am like, all right, take it easy, take a rest, like take a chill.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm curious what you said you had some past life experiences also?
Yes. So it's a very, very, very long story, but when I was little, my mom and I went to the library, and after that we went for lunch, and I was looking at one of these books that had to do with I don't think it was spiritual concepts. I think it was just like ancient history of like Native Americans and Mayans and, like, that kind of stuff, but it was like an educational type book, and I honestly don't think that I got it. I think my mom might have gotten it, and I was just curious and looking through it. Anyways, so we're sitting there, we're eating lunch in the car, and we're going through this book, and, there was a picture on one of the pages of the Serpent Mound that is in Ohio,
Mhm.
and my mom's side of the family is all from Ohio. Um, I am not. I was born in North Carolina. So I had no clue. Like I was maybe 9 years old, maybe 10 years old, something like that. And so this picture like popped literally like popped out of the page to me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've been there. My mom's like, Lindsay, you have not been there. What are you talking about? But you gotta remember too, like, my mom's a very spiritual person in of herself. So, like, me saying things like this or me, recognizing different energies or different, psychic things, like, to my mom, that was just normal. We have deja vu, like, all the time. She something can happen to somebody and she'll feel it in her body and she'll be like, "Oh my god, this just happened." And I'm like, "What are you like, like, one time she was washing dishes, and my nephew's uncle got hit by a car one time,
Mm.
And she literally the middle of washing dishes one day after school, I'm like watching TV and she goes, "Oh my gosh, Lindsay, something just happened." I was like, "What are you talking about? Like, you're washing dishes. Like, what? Did you cut yourself? Like, are you okay?" And she was like, "No, like something happened, with my nephew." And I was like, "How do you know?" And she's like, this overwhelming feeling just came over my body and I can just feel something happen." And I was like, "Okay, well, who do we call? Like, how do we figure this out?" And then literally within 5, 10 minutes later, like she gets a phone call saying like, that his uncle, this and that with him in a car accident and stuff. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, like I just had this energetic overwhelm." But my mom's always been like that. She's always been open to spiritual concepts, which has allowed me to be more open to spiritual concepts. So me seeing that picture in that book was like nothing out of, I guess, the norm, I guess. So she's like, "What do you mean you've never been there? What are you talking about?" I was like, "No, like legit, like I've been there." And then like it was weird. It wasn't like an out of body experience, but I had like a vision. So like my reality vision kind of flipped into this vision that I had. And I was like, I was running through the woods here. And
Mhm.
I remember I was being chased by something and I was holding something and I was running from whatever was trying to get me that wanted the thing that I was holding. Still to this day, I don't know what that thing is. And I don't know who was chasing me. However, I do remember that I fell or I jumped off. It wasn't like a cliff, it was more like a hill or something. And I remember running through like the water through the river. Now, this picture was just of the serpent mound itself, not what was outside of the serpent mound. So I'm like recalling all of this stuff happening.
Wow.
And I'm like, I was running, I was holding something, I was running through the woods. It was winter time, there was snow on the ground. I was like, and I jumped and off this hill or something, and I landed in the water and I started running in the water
Mhm.
and, river rock, that kind of stuff. And I said, I just remember falling into the river. Like whatever was chasing me had caught me and I fell. And I said, and then I remember my body like zoomed out from that. And that's how I could see that it was the serpent mound because I actually left my body and I recall myself leaving my body at that time. Crazy. It's insane. But
It's awesome. I believe
I
it.
know. I know. So my mom's like, "Well, we need to take a trip to the Serpent Mound." I was like, "No." I was like, "I am not going where I died. Like, this is not happening. Never, ever am I going back to this place." So I resisted it for so, so, so long that literally, let's see, we're in 26. It had to be right after COVID, I think, maybe like 1 or 2 years after COVID. I had become okay with like the spiritual concepts that we just talked about. And so I was up there visiting for some holiday or something, could have been Thanksgiving, Christmas, not thinking that it's snowing on the ground at the time. And I'm like, you know what? Let's go. I was like, it's only like 2, 3 hours from here. Like that we could do that in a day. I was
Yeah.
like, let's go. And literally, this is so, I mean, I say things are crazy, but like I get it. So it's not like legit,
Mhm.
crazy to me. But we were driving and we got in the vicinity, like not even to the actual park itself. We got into the vicinity and I felt so overwhelmed,
Mhm.
like a pressure
Mm.
on my body. And again, it's like hard to explain. That's the best that I can do to explain it. And I was like, it just felt like really like anxiety, high anxiety. But I like was trying to calm my nervous system down. I was like, we're going to do this. It's okay. Like, you're not where you were. This is a different reality. Like, you can do this. So we get to the park and it's just like this little hut of a cabin that has like some artifacts in it
Mhm.
and someone working the desk. And then you can go walk the Serpent Mound itself, and they have like some towers you can climb up and look down at it. And we go into this little cabin, and my mom bless her heart, my mom goes, "She thinks that she died here, so that's why we're here." Like, I was like,
Oh my
"Mom,
gosh.
oh my gosh." Yeah, she's like, "She needs to look around at stuff. Do you have any information about, like, like, the people who used to live here or, like, what they were like?" And she's like, totally she's trying to help me out, which is
Right,
great. I get it,
right.
but the approach could have been a whole lot better.
Yeah.
So we're, like, looking around and, like, nothing is really, like, bringing back any sort of, like, visions or
Triggering
memories
memories.
or anything.
Mhm.
And we go walk around, but then I was like, "You know what? There's a trail that goes off into the woods," and I was like, "Let's just go walk the trail." Immediately, the very first step onto that trail, out of my control, I start crying, like, bawling, and my mom's like, "Are you okay? What's going on?" I was like, "I can't explain it." I was like, I barely could talk to her. I was like, I don't know what to say." Like, it's just overcame by this emotion,
Mhm.
and we start walking down, and I'm like, "I just kinda need, like, some space, like, just give me some space." So I'm, like, walking and everything, and then she, like, is walking and venturing off and stuff, and we come down this path into the woods, and we kinda turn left and kinda come down around. There's a river right there, literally right there, and I didn't
Right.
know until the day that we went there that that river actually existed. There's nothing in the pictures that ever mentioned that that river was right there,
I mean,
and so we
I
go,
got
we walk.
chills.
Yeah,
I got
we
chills immediately as soon as you said when you stepped on the trail. I don't know, like, I could feel
yeah,
the emotion that came over you.
yeah,
Yeah,
yep,
so tell me more.
yeah, so this is supposed to be your podcast, not
I know, right?
not mine, um, but yeah, like, she's kinda, like, doing her own thing, and I'm, like, walking, and I could just, like, feel some sort of energy there, but I don't know if it was because I was trying to connect to it so hard that I actually couldn't really connect to it, but I definitely feel there's a bunch of unanswered questions there. Um, I feel like I hid whatever I was holding, I hid it somewhere. So so we're walking. I'm like, I wonder if I could find what it is. I wonder if I could figure out where I hid it or something. But like nothing was coming to me outside of like that emotion that I had. I mean, it was very familiar. It was like I could tell you exactly the things. Um, but I still don't know what was chasing me. I think that this is where my original fear of wolves came from when I was a kid, because it would make sense that people would have, like, wolves trying to chase you, right? Like, that's the only
Mhm,
logical
mhm,
thing I could think of at the time.
mhm.
I have since overcome that fear. I have a husky myself, ironically.
There you
So,
go.
yeah, so
Course
I think that
correct.
that's yeah, I think that that's what actually happened in that life, but again, I don't know exactly who I was. I know I had dark black hair because when you zoom out, like, you could see it. So I had dark,
Mhm,
long black hair, so I'm assuming some sort of Native American type
mhm.
background for sure. Um, but I don't know what the object was, and I don't know who was chasing me.
I think the most powerful thing about learning about a past life is how it connects to this life
Mhm.
and how you can utilize that information in this life. So, when you just shared that you got a husky, even though it is not a wolf, right? We can't
Yeah,
house a wolf in our
yeah.
house. Then it's just like you're healing that part of you that might have been terrified. Do you
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like you're housing,
100%.
you're healing that part of you that like probably traumatized you, or maybe it was even the reason why you passed. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
and so we carry these things with us energetically. So it is really curious to unpack what happened to us in our past lives so that we can work with it in this life. And then we just keep moving forward and moving forward. That's
yeah,
pretty awesome though that you were called to go there
yeah,
and explore that and see where that led you. And
yeah,
it is cool that your mom supported that though.
yeah,
I would give
yeah.
her
It
a lot of
is.
credit for that. That's pretty fun.
It is. She loves those types of things too, and like I said, it's because she has experienced stuff herself in her life, so she's been very open to it. I think if I had parents who didn't believe in that or whatever, I wouldn't be where
Of
I'm at
course.
right now, so,
Makes perfect sense.
yeah. Okay, let's get back.
Podcast.
I love story time. Story time's
Me too.
always good.
Yeah.
Okay, so if there is any women out there listening who don't feel that connection that me and you have had the opportunity to feel, and they really just feel that disconnect from their body or their intuition, even their natural rhythms, like why is this type of living such a powerful doorway for them to actually try to reconnect with?
It's so powerful to connect with your true essence because at the end of the day, we are a soul living in a human body. We are living in a 3D reality. And so the more that we get in tune with our soul, the more knowledge we can carry with us in our everyday life. The closer to the divine you can get is the better. So, when we are so caught up in the logistics of the day, we end up living Groundhog Day every day.
Yeah.
We wake up, we brush our teeth, we take a shower, we do the coffee, like whatever the routine is. And then next thing you know, it's like the days are long, but the years are short.
Yeah.
You're then, in the middle of your life wondering how you got where you are and why you're bored and why you feel restless or you feel this nagging at the back of your mind. And that is because you're ignoring the whispers of your soul. You are possibly tuning out insights from your spirit team or from the universe who are trying to course correct you, who are trying to get you back on your soul's destiny, on your soul's path. We are all born into this world with things to do. So I imagine that when we are deciding to come back into this life, we sit with our spirit team and the other people that are going to come into this world with us. And we figure out what lessons we want to learn from this lifetime,
Mhm.
what things we want to experience. We're working on our soul contract. And then with those people, those other souls, they raise their hands. For example, if you need to learn patience, well, you need someone to push you to those levels where you need those opportunities to exhibit and learn and practice patience.
Yeah.
And so if you look around at the people who are in your life, and it's usually family members. They
Mhm.
might trigger things in you, but it's all part of the divine plan. And while in this 3D world, you're like, oh my gosh, you are so annoying, or I can't stand you, or you make me so angry, like those things are happening for your best and highest good. Because when we do go on to the next plane, we now have those tools under our belt as far as growing and progressing. And so that is why it is so important to get out of our heads and into our divine connection. And that can be housed in many different ways. It can be through guided meditation. Listening to music can transform you if you're listening to different hertz frequencies and working with your energy through Reiki, even acupuncture, breath work, doing something that is getting the energy that gets stuck in your body moving and flowing again,
Yeah.
because we can pick up so much density just by being around other people or in different environments. And sometimes, like, we need to let that go. Like, we cannot keep carrying baggage with us everywhere we go. Our job here is to learn lessons. And in learning those lessons, our ancestors are also healing along with us. and our future generations are also healing with us. And if you think about it, when your mother was born, you were already inside her because
Yep.
we're born, females are born with our eggs. And so the generations, it's like think of the nesting dolls where our DNA is so compounded in each other on the maternal side. So we're all so connected, whether we see our moms or not, if you're adopted or maybe your mother isn't present in your life, like there's still those connections. And so it's important to explore who you are as a person. And the best way to do that is to just go deeper, go within yourself, because there within lies all of the answers.
Yeah. I like how you said that it's okay that people trigger you because personally, from my own story, I have had the most growth with the person who continually reflects back to me the things. Um, and at the same time, I have reflected a lot back to them too.
Mhm.
I think that I don't know if you believe in this or not, but I think that we actually might be like twin flames
Mhm.
where we're both the same soul, but like split because we are so alike, but like opposite, if that makes sense. Where I'm strong, they're not as strong. Where they're strong, I'm not as strong. And so there's been constant headbutting um over the past years now. But I wouldn't be here in this capacity that I have now if it wasn't for them triggering. So we've always like triggered, pulled apart, and then come back. And then eventually there's another trigger and we pull back and we come back. And it's just been like this like for years now. But every time I get the opportunity, I'm like, I get that this is what our dynamic is, but I thank you for all the healing that you have actually provided me. And I feel like a lot of people run away from that. Like, as soon as someone starts triggering them, they're like, okay, blocked, shut down, I'm leaving, bye, adios, instead of like leaning in and be like, okay, maybe they are actually reflecting something that I personally need to figure out and heal, And I feel like as females and society pressures too, I feel like other influences from people often tell us to let go of that person or to, oh, they said this
Mm.
wrong. They don't, you know what I'm saying? I
Mm.
feel like there's a lot of pressure to like let go of that person instead of leaning in and saying, okay, but actually, like, yes, their behavior might not be the best behavior, but they are reflecting something that I feel triggering and should probably look into. Right?
Yeah, totally. I think that one, we have soul contracts that are meant for a season, a reason, or a lifetime. So there
Yeah.
will be people that will come in and out of your life and they may trigger you. And what the good thing about you is that you have that awareness. So
Yeah.
when you pull apart, I'm sure you are sitting back and you're reflecting and you're going
Yeah.
in deep and you're figuring it out. And then when the two of you, when one person heals and someone else witnesses, there's actually a collective healing. So that's why group meditations and group healing is powerful, because when you witness someone else heal, any part of your soul that can connect to that issue also heals molecularly.
Okay.
So it's actually very powerful to heal in groups as well as individual. And so I'm sure from what I'm hearing from you is this person, when you're going in and out of these triggering moments and then you
Mhm.
pull apart, I'm sensing that you are healing in the ways that you need to, because life is also a mirror.
Yeah.
What aggravates you in someone else is usually something that you need to work on as
Yeah.
well. And so the fact that you have that capability to recognize that and then go within and honor that is amazing, honestly, because you are doing the work. That's what they say
Yeah.
when you're doing the work. And I used to question that. I was like, well, what the heck does doing the work mean? Well, it means getting to know your soul and your lessons and
Mhm.
not running away from them, not
Yeah.
hiding out on your couch watching Netflix for hours on end and getting sucked up into the news and running around with so much fear, because at the end of the day, we have to be the love and the light of the world, not only for ourselves, but for our collective that we're in right now and for our families and friends and those people that don't have a voice right now. We have to be the love and the light to just make this world a better place in general.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that. Let's shift to the lunar cycles and phases and things. So, can
Yeah.
you walk us through, first of all, the different phases of the moon and how each one goes about supporting women emotionally, spiritually, practically, all of that? And then can we go through how they can build awareness to like soften, to trust themselves more and actually make decisions from those phases and from that more aligned space?
Mhm. So I just recently got interested in working with the different lunar phases, and I was doing a frequency Friday. So I was doing little mini episodes on Fridays of my podcast, and I was working with the archangels, and I had gone through an intro to each of the archangels. And I was sitting there and I was thinking, what am I going to come up with next? And
Mm,
I just immediately felt like I want to talk about the moon and the moon cycles and how it can have a play on our energy and how it can affect us, especially as women, as the feminine energy. And it was so divine because when I was younger, I would always go outside and just stare at the stars and stare at the sky and no matter where I am, if there's like a full moon or
yeah,
something cool going on with the moon, I'm always like interested and looking at the moon, right?
me too.
And, some people, right? Some people never look up, and it's like,
That's
wow, there's
crazy.
so much beauty and vastness right here within our eyesight every single night. Granted, it's not
You
cloudy,
should
but you know
see
what I
my
mean.
you should you should see my, my phone gallery. It's, like, nothing but, like, sunsets and moons and, like, all the things.
That I absolutely love that.
Yeah,
So I began to get curious with the different cycles of the moon. And so the new moon, right? So every month we have the new moon and the full moon. And the new moon is the inner feminine and it's the void. So it's a time to rest, receive, and reset. Your energy is inward, it's quiet, it's reflective. And during the new moon energy, you might feel tired. You might want to rest. You might want to chill and allow that. So many people, and this is where this knowledge is valuable because instead of like forcing yourself to go, 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 honoring and respecting that it's a natural cycle for you to rest because so many of us don't allow ourselves to rest or we feel guilty about it. So, this is a time when it's good for less socialization, more inward reflecting, and just reminding yourself that this is a moment where nothing is wrong, right? You're just recalibrating. You're getting that rest that you need. So it is stillness, trust, and kind of like the womb space. Like you're in the mother, you're resting, you're in the darkness.
yeah,
Okay. It's a good time to journal any desires or sit in silence and trust what's forming. Now, the waxing moon is more of the gentle expansion and aligned action. The energy is starting to rise outwards. You might feel some clarity and some momentum, but again, this is just like the phase of like the roots beginning to grow before they
yeah,
come to the surface. So you're starting to feel a little bit more motivated, open to possibilities. You're getting creative, curious, and there's like some soft discipline. So you're like, okay, like I'm sensing that I need to do XYZ. And you start
mhm,
getting some curiosity there, or you start taking some small steps. You start doing some research. You're just getting curious. And this is the time when you begin again to take those small aligned steps and you're starting to lean towards what feels good, what lights you up, and you're getting curious with that. And then we go into the full moon. So that's when the energy is at its peak. And today we're recording on the pink full moon. And this is when emotions, truths, and patterns come to light. So think about it. The moon is the brightest on the full moon.
yep,
So it is showcasing what may have been hidden, what may have been in the dark, what may have been stuck in your
Right.
subconscious. So it's a good
Yeah.
time for you to put a magnifying glass on those things that you're ready to release and let go. There might be some clarity, some realizations, some triggers that go on.
Yeah.
This is a time of femininity at its strongest. So there's
Yeah.
power, there's truth, there's emotional depth, because as women or the feminine energy, we're very connected to emotions,
Yeah.
much more so than the masculine energy. So it would make sense naturally for us to peak with the full moon, right? Think
Yep.
about it, even with the ocean, the moon controls the tide.
Yep.
And so the water goes in and the water comes out. And because we are made up of water, it would make sense that the moon affects us, especially our emotions.
Yeah.
And during the full moon, also, it's what is not aligned is being revealed. It's course correction time. This is
Absolutely.
releasing. It's a time to let go of what is no longer serving you. That can be relationships, it can be things that you're eating. Like, for example, just a side quest, I was just looking up, my son has ADHD, and I was thinking, I'm like, I really need to get him off of, like, red dye 40 and the soda. And, I get it. He's 17 and he wants to drink and eat whatever
Yep.
he wants. But it's like my inner knowing is like, those things need to go. They're
Yeah.
no longer serving us. So it's perfect timing that I
Yeah.
had this thought on this day. So letting go of what no longer fits. And that can also be people, it can be relationships.
Yeah.
And one thing that I've learned over the course of this past year is no can be a complete sentence. So it is honoring ourselves, it is honoring our truths and releasing what is no longer serving us. So after the full moon, we have the waning moon. So it's the wise feminine energy. The energy begins to pull inward again. And this is your healing and your processing phase. So, if you were to have released something, now you're dealing with those feelings, you're dealing with that emotion and with that aftermath. And that's fine.
Yep.
It's good to feel your emotions because that also helps to cleanse things out. So, you might be a little bit slower, reflective, less outwardly productive. And this is where you have wisdom, discernment, letting go, reflecting on things that may have just been let go, and you are tying up any loose ends and letting go of any guilt. Guilt is a low energy. And at the end of the day, we need to honor ourselves. And guilt is something that you need to let go of because, like I said, guilt, shame, anger, they're all low vibrations. And it's not good to carry those things around. So that's also a time where you can let those things go.
Yeah.
So, a good full moon ritual is you can write down what you want to let go of on a bay leaf and then you put it in fire, obviously in a safe space. Okay. And you know what's curious is if the leaf burns fast, then you are ready to let that go. And if it burns slower, there might still be some resistance that you're
Yeah.
carrying, whether
Yeah.
it's subconsciously or not. So pay attention to when you put that leaf on the fire. For me, there's been so many times where the leaf just blows right off the log. And I'm like, no, I
No, it's
want to
not
let
happening.
it go. And so it's super important to, again, just honor and recognize that the moon does affect us. And the cool part is that it also has to do with the placement of the stars and the sky and all of
Yeah.
that. But that's just the basics. That's the basics right there in a nutshell. We go through those phases over and over and over again. Each month is a new opportunity. Each moon, and it's the same moon, but each
Yeah.
moon brings us the opportunity for ways in which we can work with it to heal ourselves and the collective and so it's just really cool to really get into the moon
Yeah.
energy and how it works with us, especially in regards to feminine
Yeah.
energy.
I feel like we can talk, like, just on that subject for, like, hours.
Yes. Yeah. That's like barely scraping the
Yeah.
surface. That's it
Yeah.
in a nutshell.
Yeah. Because there's things, like, with productivity or, like, starting relationships and, like, all of those things that deal with each one of
Yes.
those cycles, and it's really incredible to connect the dots once you see that they exist and how, like, those things plan
Right,
out.
especially if you're in a soul-led business, like, there are times
Yeah.
when you're supposed to just be coming up with ideas, and then there's
Yep.
times when you're supposed to be putting those ideas out into the world, making the offers, making the connection, so yes, following that ebb and the flow, and I do teach about these things in my school community.
Yeah.
We do have full moon and new moon meditations, so 2 moon meditations and workshops where we unpack these things, and we learn
Yep.
about the specific energy of the month in my school community called the Soul Shine Collective.
I
So,
love that.
I can also share that information with
Yeah.
you to be
Oh,
passed
yeah.
along, and always put it in my newsletter, so
Yeah. So for women who are burnt out and they're
Mm.
overgiving and they have this disconnect, what shifts can they begin honoring instead of pressuring?
I think the first step is awareness, is recognizing that if you are waking up and your feet haven't even hit the floor yet, and if you're where I was, I would wake up and I'd be like, "Oh my god, I can't wait for this day to be over and I can't wait to be back in bed."
Yeah.
That's a huge sign. Depression is a huge sign. Anxiety while you're driving to work or you're driving to do the thing or you're driving to that relationship.
Yeah.
When I was in my first marriage, I drove about an hour to work and there's like a halfway point, there was this bridge and it was like the anxiety would start to kick in once I went over that bridge. And
Yeah.
so it's listening to your body and how it's responding to the things that you're interacting with, the things and the people that you're interacting with throughout the day. So the first step is recognition. And then from there, you just start to take ownership of your own life. You start to take action. And that can be something so easy. It can be a 5-minute guided meditation. Literally, those really helped to save me
Yeah.
when I was in that situation of commuting back and forth to a job that was no longer serving me. I would sit in my car and I started literally with a 5-minute guided meditation. And it's funny that I'm bringing this up today because I just did one last night before bed. And I was like, you know what? I can be disciplined enough with myself to sit for a 5-minute guided meditation. And they're so available on YouTube, anywhere, like you can find one so easily.
Yep.
So find one that soothes you, that you like the voice of the person and you can really lean in. But then, I mean, you're the expert here also, like the water and the
Yep.
sleep and just take care of yourself. Going into a bath with Epsom salts, taking those moments to slow down, going out and touching grass. And I want to laugh, but it's true. Yesterday, for
Oh, yeah.
example, I was feeling a little bit heavy. I had a bit of a difficult conversation with my son. And after we parted, I literally just went outside. I grabbed a crystal and I laid in the grass and I made sure that my feet touched the grass and just laid there and connected and felt the sun. And it's just like you're recharging your battery. You are filling your energy back up and then you're breathing, you're letting it out, you're letting stuff go and you're giving it up and you're giving it over because sometimes things are bigger than we alone can handle and that's when it's time to call in whatever you refer to, God, universe, source, your angels, the archangels, your spirit team, and ask for help because we're not here alone. And that's what
Yeah.
people forget. You are never alone. You are always divinely supported, loved, and cared for. Whether you have evidence or proof of that, that is the fact of the matter. So it's a matter of allowing yourself to be supported by the universe.
Absolutely. Okay, I have a couple more questions.
Of
Um,
course.
okay, so we mentioned, tuning into yourself and hydrating yourself and things, especially in the morning or taking that 5 or 10 minute meditation. I also do that if I'm like super busy day, like it's a 5 minute in the morning, still in bed situation. if I have a few more minutes, I'll go do a 10-minute, and like you said, they're all on YouTube, and they're really great. Even going back, it just dawned on me, you had mentioned the frequency music too. That's
Mm,
also available on YouTube too, and you can do that in an actual meditation type situation or just play it in the background while you're doing whatever you're doing about your day too. So I do that as well.
I used
So
to do that
outside of that,
actually.
what?
I used to actually do that in my classroom if the students were like feeling a bit anxious that day because for whatever reason, it's summer, it's getting closer to summer and they can't wait to
Yes.
get outside. I would find like, calming Reiki
Yeah. Yeah.
vibrational music and just like play it lightly in the background.
Yeah, that's funny you said that because I actually did that one day when I was substitute teaching myself. I just plugged my phone into the little jack for the speakers in the classroom and I just played it really low where I was like,
Yeah,
maybe they won't notice that it's
right.
playing, but it'll
Exactly.
and they were actually really calm that
Yeah,
day. And I
it
was like,
works.
oh my gosh. So yeah, that's funny you mentioned that. So outside of those things, are there any other like maybe 2 to 3 small practices that a woman can start doing like this month, especially with it being well, this won't air on the full moon, but because right now is the full moon, what are some things that she can feel more connected to herself and her rhythm?
Yeah, so I think honoring your body, so especially as women, becoming attuned with your body and knowing when it needs rest. For example, if you're coming upon your cycle, giving your body what it's craving and what it's asking for. For me
Yeah,
personally, I always crave chocolate before my cycle comes. And you don't have to overindulge, but listening
right.
to what your body is asking. Perhaps it's asking for something a little salty. Perhaps you're wanting something and you don't know why. Like you want a kale salad or you're craving a tomato, like, actually listen to
Listen
your
to it.
body because your
Yeah,
body has so much knowledge, and oftentimes we're like, "Oh, I don't wanna do that," or "I'm not in the mood for that." It's like,
yeah,
if you actually do the thing, you would be amazed at how your body responds because our body is so full of knowledge and it communicates with us, but
yeah,
oftentimes our brains make excuses to care for our bodies.
yeah,
So I would listen to your body. Get outside in nature whenever you can. That honestly is the quickest way to reset. And I know that I already spoke about that, but actually go for a walk,
yeah,
even if it's 10 minutes, even if it's a block. Just getting outside in the natural sunlight, even if it is a bit cloudy, that vitamin D can really impact your mood.
yep,
Oftentimes, when we're feeling depressed, vitamin D actually recharges you. It's like a crystal. You're like a crystal and you're soaking in that energy and you're getting recharged. So, getting out into the sunlight, the worst thing that you can do is just sit and mope around. So, get up, jump around, move
yep,
around, get on the floor, stretch out. There are so many tools that you can just take 3 deep breaths. You can do EFT tapping, which is just a systematic way of tapping. And again, whether you're learning it from a coach like Lindsay or myself, or you're just going on YouTube or going into Chat GPT, like
yeah,
in this modern day and age, there is no reason why anyone cannot educate
yeah,
themselves. We just have so many tools at the hands of our fingertips. We're not ordering Encyclopedia Britannica and waiting 3 weeks for it to be shipped to our house. Like, you
yeah.
just pick up your electronic device, but then put it down.
Yeah,
Don't scroll, right? So then we could do
yeah,
some of the don'ts. Do not doom scroll because you're getting a dopamine hit and
yeah,
we're addicted to dopamine. And then our body has, I forget what it's called, but like if you pick up your phone, you're like your thumb automatically wants to go to like Instagram or
yeah.
TikTok, like muscle
Like that
memory.
muscle
Like your
memory, yeah.
phone has that muscle memory. And it's like you have to slowly retrain yourself.
Yeah,
And then there's lots of other cool things you can do. You can actually chat GPT, like if you go down the rabbit hole of chat GPT and it knows you, you can say, hey, give me a guided meditation for
yeah,
anxiety, for self confidence, for letting things go. and then record it in your own voice on your voice note app on your phone and listen to it daily.
Yeah.
That's huge. Hearing your own voice through a guided meditation is so powerful.
Yeah.
So, those are just some fun things that you can do. And nothing is like rocket science here. It's
Yeah.
all easy. But sometimes the easiest things are what we make the biggest excuses for.
Yeah.
So, it's a good time, especially with the weather getting a little bit nicer. Get yourselves out there, get that vitamin D, go for the walk because it's so good, not only for your heart health, but it's so good for your mental clarity. And I would challenge you, don't take your phone out with you. Don't go out and listen to a podcast. Don't listen to music. Be with yourself and your thoughts, and you'd be amazed at what comes through for you.
Yeah, 100%. A lot of times too, actually, probably the majority of women are actually vitamin D deficient, myself included, knowing all that I know.
I was
Um,
too.
yeah, I just got blood work back a few weeks ago, and she was like, "Oh, you're vitamin D deficient." I was like, "Oh, okay." But she
Yeah,
said
and
it's really common.
it's really common and it can affect your mood and it can make you feel depressed. Like you feel so sad. And then when you realize and you get your vitamin D levels back up, you're like, wow. It's almost like you didn't know what you were missing out on until you're restored back to normal.
Yeah, yep, and I can go on the whole health benefits and stuff on my
I'm
own with
here.
that one. Okay, so how can a woman discern between like her true intuitive guidance and fear or urgency or maybe even that social pressure that we talked about a little bit ago?
I think trusting that the first thing that comes to your mind is usually the answer from your heart and from your soul. So it's not allowing yourself to spiral and it's not going down the what if rabbit hole. In fact, I would challenge you to, and Lindsay, you know this also, go down the like what if fun, right? What if
Yeah,
this good thing happens?
yeah,
What if this bad thing happens? If you're anything like me, it's like, oh my gosh, what if the tire falls off? We go over a cliff. Like, no, like spin it away. Like we are so inclined to getting caught up in the negative. It's stopping it and it's catching it and it's rerouting it. It's control alt delete, resetting those beliefs and starting over. So it's just being more mindful. And then just, it's all about trust. You have to trust yourself and you have to stand in your power,
yeah,
especially as a woman. Stand in your power, set boundaries. Boundaries are there for a reason. They're not to hurt, they are, in fact, to protect you. And when we're giving our power away to someone else by saying yes when we mean no,
yeah,
we are inherently hurting ourselves. And who wants to hurt themselves? At the end of the day, complacency or going along with the flow for the sake of quote unquote fitting in, if you're not being your authentic self, those aren't your people anyway. And I get it. Sometimes we have to work with people. Do your best to protect your energy. You can literally envision a white bubble around yourself and fill it with the white light of the Holy Spirit and say, I'm protecting my energy. And another great thing that you can do at the end of the day, and even if you're someone who astral travels in your sleep or you feel like you're off in another world while you sleep, is just say a quick prayer. I call back any energy that is mine that may have left, and I release and give back any energy to anyone's who I may have picked up along the way, and I send it back with light and love. And
yeah.
that restores your energy levels.
That also really helps. After like a breakup and relationships and stuff. I've definitely done that a couple of times, even just like with friendships that like weren't aligned, or things like that. I've literally probably actually said those same exact words that you just said,
Uh-huh.
honestly, because it
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
It really works. Um, also, I wanted to say you mentioned just a second ago about how we say yes to everything. I actually have a good friend who she is does that, and she's like, "Well, it's easier for me to work through my own feelings and hurt about the situation than to have the other person, like, hurt or have to, you know what I'm saying? So, actually, at first, I didn't realize, I guess, the full concept of what she was saying until I saw it within myself, and then a few
Mm.
weeks ago, I brought it back to her because, like you just said, like, I'm the type person who will, if I see something that is, like, triggering in some sort of way, or if I read something, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that makes sense why I do that." I'm definitely the type of person to step back and reflect and then go figure out
Mm.
how to move on and heal that part.
Mhm.
So the part is being the emotional regulator, and so that's my, like, key phrase for the past 2 months now is, "Well, are you being an emotional regulator right now? Because you're trying to regulate everybody else's feelings, when in reality, they are adults. We all have the same opportunities to regulate our own emotions accordingly. We either can or we can't, and what you say and do and how you act and show up should be true to yourself, not how that other person, how you think that the other person's going to perceive it or respond to it, because A, you're carrying way more mental load capacity on yourself when you do that, but 2, you're not allowing them to learn how to regulate their own emotions when you're the one regulating it for them all the time."
Right, right. Yeah, there's so many pieces that go with that. One,
Yeah,
you can be in a situation where you're enabling.
yeah,
And I just learned this about a month ago. It is not our job or our responsibility
yeah,
to carry the weight of someone else's emotions, because think about what we started this conversation with soul contracts. If you're constantly taking away the opportunity for that person to feel their emotions by you holding all of that weight, you're taking
yep,
away those opportunities. And at the end of the day, you're not helping them.
mm,
You're hurting them by not giving them those opportunities to feel the feels, to be told no,
yep,
to have to deal with whatever it is that you're saying yes to avoid that situation. For, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you're not giving them the opportunity to work through their own stuff.
yep,
And so that also ends up building resentment, and it's going to eventually come out in one shape, way, form, or another. Because again, by you dishonoring what you actually want to say or do with that friendship, and I'm not saying you, Lindsay, I'm saying in
yeah,
regards to the other person or in general, a general you,
yeah,
it's going to come back to you in some way, shape, or form, because there has to be a balance. Everything balances out. And so by you not honoring yourself, you're actually dishonoring both yourself and that
and the other
person.
person.
Even though you think that it's the easy way out, it might be in that moment, but all of those little moments add up to a compounding moment that might become an explosive moment, because that
Exactly.
energy and that emotion has to eventually come out. It has to, and
Yeah,
it will.
and I feel like too, when we do those micro self-abandonment moments, that also builds up in our body, and then going back to the work that you do too, like, that's more that has to get removed
Yeah.
and worked through, and it just, like you said, it just continues to tack on and tack on.
Yes.
So
100%.
so with that being said, if there are women who are tuning in who are, maybe they're curious about it, but maybe they're also really skeptical or afraid, or they've been told, like, it's too woo woo, like, it doesn't make any sense, it's not scientific. What would you say to those people?
I would say screw society and what people think, because at the end
Yeah,
of the day, you have to follow your own heart no matter what. You are here for a divine reason and a purpose, and the ideas that come into your mind are there for you. Whether you think things are woo woo or not, like, we need to get rid of that
yeah,
stereotype, because at the end of the day, we are all here for a reason and a purpose, and it is
yeah,
our job to uncover what that reason and that purpose is. And we are exposed to different scenarios, relationships, that allow us to figure that out. Part of life is figuring that out. So the more that we let other people or societal expectations rule over us, we are self abandoning and we are giving away our power. And there has to be a balance in that power. We have to find that power within ourselves. And I get it, especially like, I was just speaking with a couple and they were like, well, we don't talk about these things.
Yeah.
And someone has to be the rule breaker. Someone has to be the initiator. Like whenever there is change, there is someone who stands up. There's
Yeah.
someone who voices the things that we might all be wondering. Like think about being a student in a classroom. You have a question, but you're afraid to ask the question.
Yeah.
Well, Jill next to you finally asks the question, and the whole class sighs relief because,
Yeah.
wow, someone was brave enough to speak up.
Yeah.
So I would, you know what? And also, people are afraid of losing connections and relationships. You are not meant to stay in the same relationships all of your life. You are changing and morphing every single day of your life. And you don't want to be on your deathbed looking back and saying, oh, I never told so and so how I really felt,
Yeah.
or I let so and so ruin my life. We
Yeah.
cannot give our power over to other people. And again, like you were mentioning before, and I've seen this firsthand, is when you constantly are enabling someone and by saying yes to them, even for unhealthy habits,
Mhm.
right? Drug addiction, alcohol abuse,
Yeah.
allowing someone to verbally or emotionally abuse you, that can show up as disease in your body. It can be an autoimmune disease, it can be cancer. Like, this is real. Energy is real and it causes disease because you have to move it out. And so by making the choices that feel truthful to you, you are honoring yourself. And that is the best thing you can do in any relationship. I am not saying that it is easy,
Yeah.
but it is the best thing. Honesty and truth for not only yourself, but for the relationships that you care about, right? If you love that person,
Yeah.
you should be honest with them. And it
Yeah.
might hurt and you might have to have some hard conversations, but at the end of the day, you'll both be better for it.
Yeah. I also feel with that too, you kind of touched on it a couple of times where, like, if we have that societal pressure, or even just in a relationship dynamic or friendship dynamic, and people look at us differently when we step into these roles or step into a bigger spiritual capacity in any way, shape, or form. Um, Oftentimes, like I go to church, I go to a non-denominational church,
Mhm.
and our pastor often says, like, just just be in the way of that life, and people will naturally start asking you, what are you doing? What practices are you doing? How are you doing this? Like, you look like you're glowing. You are an awesome person. Like, people, just you stepping into it will shift so much energetics around you that the people who are like skeptical at first will be actually asking you, like, what is it that you're actually doing? Like, you don't have to necessarily force anything on anybody else, or like,
Mhm.
say, oh, I'm going to do this, I feel like you should do this too. Just allow them to just start being attracted to you, because the brighter your light grows, the more people are just naturally going to come up to you and talk to you about the things. And so,
Anything.
yeah, so I feel like putting down that wall of, like, "Oh, what are they gonna think?" Or, "Is it too woo?" Or, like, "I need to, like, shrink when I'm around this person." I feel like we really, like you said, need to just get rid of all of that stuff, live for yourself, for your authenticity, and just allow everything else around you to just kind of align and fall away naturally. I mean, like, we going back to the beginning of what we said too, like, we have cycles for a reason, like not just our lunar cycles or our menstrual cycles,
Mhm.
but we have the seasons, and we're not always meant to stay in like a spring summer vibe 100% of
Absolutely.
the time. So
Yes.
live authentically, let the people fall off that are meant to fall off, let new people in who are supposed to come in and help, and you spoke on the soul contract part, that's part of it too. So, yeah, I definitely feel similar in that regard too.
Yes, like a moth to a flame. When you are lit up, people are drawn to you. And I actually just learned that authenticity has a higher vibration and frequency than love.
Yeah.
So most people think love is the greatest thing in the world. And love is absolutely amazing. That's what connects all of us.
Yeah.
But authenticity, actually showing up truly as yourself. And it's okay. Like people don't always know, well, I don't know myself. Well,
Yeah.
get to know yourself. You have a whole lifetime ahead of you to get
You
to know
do.
yourself.
Mhm.
As long as you have breath in your lungs, you have a new opportunity to get to know yourself better. So
Yeah.
just be you and think about it. One candle can light endless amounts of candles.
Yep.
And when you stop allowing yourself to be controlled by how you think other people think about you.
Yeah.
I mean, really, everybody is in their own
They are.
world, in their own heads, in their own
Yep.
perspectives. And what you think Jill thinks about you is probably so far off. So why
Yeah.
do we spend energy thinking about it
Or she doesn't even think about you at all.
at all? It's like, Lindsay, who?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay,
Yeah.
so tying all of this together before we close, we talk about the healing, we talk about the energetic work and alignment and lunar cycles and all of these really good, juicy things. How does all of this tie into greater abundance, not just necessarily financially, although everyone would love to be more financially abundant? And we've actually talked about the financial abundance piece this week, which I'm so excited about. But because that's like a domino effect. But anyways, emotionally as well and spiritually as well, just all of this abundance.
Yes. And one thing that the listener should really take away is abundance does not equal money. Abundance
Right.
can be enjoying a slow morning, enjoying a conversation where you are looking your loved one in the eyes and truly feeling each other's emotions and connection. Abundance is paying attention to your life,
Yeah.
it is being present. Nothing really matters besides the present. Yes, the past can haunt us. We can ruminate in poor choices. But at the end of the day, each moment is a new opportunity, and each moment presents abundance in a plethora of different ways. Smelling a flower, enjoying your coffee, petting your cat. Like, we have to enjoy the mundane things as well as the grandiose things that come into our life. So, presence is really the key to abundance. And the more that you're in that grateful frequency, that frequency of gratitude, the higher your vibration gets and the more like things you attract. So, when you are stuck in the loop of negative Nancy thinking, right?
Yeah.
You're saying, why me? This always happens. Of course, this would happen. You have to get yourself out of there because like energy attracts like energy. So the more that you practice presence and gratitude, the more good things will come your way. And the more fun you have and the more authentic you are and the more open you are, that's when the money will come in situations. And it doesn't have to be money.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, I want to share something. You
Yeah.
can
Go
make
for
a
it.
list also.
Hmm.
Okay. Instead of money, it can be I am open to receiving. I am grateful that I received a free vacation. I am grateful that I received a scholarship. I am grateful that I received a new pair of shoes.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be physical money, it can be things.
Yeah.
So, for example, if someone is hosting a retreat that you really want to go to, but you don't have the cash, well, who knows? Maybe that person is feeling generous enough and opens up a scholarship,
Yep.
you apply and you're the winner. So it
Yep.
doesn't have to be physical cash. So you need to
Sure.
be open to the different ways in which the world has an infinite possibility, infinite amounts of ways it can provide abundance to you.
Yeah.
And so be open to that. And then you will be gifted these things.
Yeah. I think it
Yeah.
ties into value. Like we put a value specifically on money, but so many other things have value. And that's where the gratitude
Absolutely.
needs to come from is that, I value taking a walk in the woods. I value being present with my kids or playing games with them. Like these are things of value that you can be grateful for that like we talk about in the class that we're in together, like money's just a resource.
Right.
It's very similar to the air that we breathe. We're thankful for the air that we breathe. We're thankful we woke up this morning. So it doesn't
Hmm.
have to be like specifically, oh, I want money to come in and this is, how I need to do this and that to get it. It's no, I'm grateful that, you know, I'm here today. I'm grateful the sky is blue today and there's no snow on the ground or something,
Yeah.
like it could be anything really. But
Yeah.
if you're showing that gratitude, you're also, like we just talked about, you're increasing that light, which is going to have more things be attracted to you for sure. So,
Yes. And when
yeah.
you are feeling more lit up, the people around you feel more lit up too. So, yep.
Exactly. So I like that you mentioned that to just make a list like that. Okay. So, Christine, this has been a beautiful conversation and I feel like we're going to have many more to come
I
because
agree.
because I feel like we could talk literally for hours with so many different things. So, before we sign off here, I just want you to tell everybody again how they can connect with you, what you have currently available for someone who's looking for the deeper support.
Yes. So the best way to find me is on Instagram at christine.marcario.coach. It's Marcario, Marcario. And from there, you can go to my link tree in my bio, subscribe to my newsletter, which comes out weekly. My podcast is also linked there. It's called Aligned and Abundant. And I also have a school community that is called Aligned and Abundant, the Soul Shine Collective, where we meet twice monthly on Zoom. And we also have daily connection through the chat there. So, oh, and I also am honoring, uh, offering coaching sessions where I am working with people for 3 sessions at a special rate right now, which you can also find on my link tree. So the best way to find me is on Instagram
The
and
link
go to
tree.
my link tree, and
Yeah.
all the connections are there.
Perfect. And then I don't know if we tapped on this or not, but who is your work best suited for in this season?
My work is best suited for exactly what you named before. If you are experiencing burnout, on the outside, you look successful, but on the inside, you know there is more for you. You are hearing the whispers, you are feeling the tug at your heart, but you don't know where to start. And you need someone who is willing to hold space for you and hold up that mirror and gently coach you through, helping you find your next aligned step and giving you the confidence and the courage to do that.
Awesome.
And then cheering you on when you do. That's
Awesome.
me.
Okay, perfect. So thank you
Mm.
so much for being here and for sharing your wisdom so openly and also getting me to talk about my journey.
Oh my gosh, I know. I loved
Yeah.
this entire conversation and I love your energy. Speaking of energy, energy always is the first thing that speaks to someone. And your energy is amazing. And I love
Aw,
all that you're offering the world in the way that you're helping women.
thank you. Thanks. Yeah, thank you. I don't know how else to say that besides
I know,
thank you.
right? Awesome. All right.
Yeah. So I know that this is going to speak to a lot of women. So if this episode supported you, be sure to share it out with a friend, tag both of us on social media, and let us know what exactly resonated with you the most. And I will see you guys on the next one.